Welcome to the sixth edition of the Norla podcast for the week 2 recap. I'm your host, Top Rat. JD is out this week. Here on this short but informationally packed episode, we will discuss the week 2 findings along with our opinions and what we thought was worth discussing here over the week 2 week for the season in the North Louisiana area over high school football. And today we always have a guest on the show. Typically I'm a guest by chance. I'm not a staple guest, but I have been chosen. This week our guest, fresh off our suspension, the Norla suspension, is our guest, JD.
Hello, Rat. It's good to be in the guest chair. I've had a great week. Took a nice vacation, much needed rest to relax and get my thoughts together. I've spent a good week in Dry Prong, peeling and dealing, and just hanging out at the Indian Casino in Dry Prong, just south of the Norla. And I'm so happy that I can be here on a guest because it just feels good to be relaxed and in this chair as a guest on vacation. My vacation ends tomorrow. I'll be back from vacation. But it's nice to be relaxed and kind of take a load off for a while. It's not bad.
I can tell the load has been lifted, and this is JD is. It's easy that you can hear it in his voice. He is rejuvenated. He's refreshed. Oftentimes, however, a suspension is very much can be a time of reflection. But either way, suspension, vacation, sounds like our guest JD.
I think the suspension word is strong. It's a little negative. I think you're looking at this vacation in the wrong way. This is something of my own choice. I talked to management, and it was my idea to take a vacation. Suspension is a little politically correct word that I'm not going to use because vacation should be a positive thing, and it is. It's been a positive thing.
Yes. While many of the radio shows do come across suspensions, we are glad to have that out of the way and come across it as a new and really a better squad with JD back in the booth.
Are you gonna? I don't like. You're in that chair again. I listened to the podcast last week, and you're in that chair, and it creaks and squeaks all over. Can you just get a new chair? Go.
We're getting
go.
it.
Go. Get a new chair. Oh, swear to God, it's the worst thing. Just throw it away. Trying to relax here. Over here, squeaking, and all I hear is this creaking, stupid chair.
All right, we're going to roll right into the...
Rock back and forth a little bit. Is it not going to...
There's no rocking in this chair.
Okay.
Notable scores from week 2, Bastrop 32 over Evangel 25.
I love Bastrop. They're fun.
I think that was a little bit of a shocker. Evangel was probably supposed to win that game. Bastrop came out to be the bigger and stronger team there.
You don't go into the Ram House as an underdog, as a favorite, and expect to just win because... You're a favorite. And I think Evangel learned that last night the quick way.
Rolling along here, Sterlington 40, OCS 19. OCS had a good showing. Sterlington's a stronger team.
That doesn't change my guarantee. OCS will still win state because it's easy to win state in D4.
D4 is certainly different than 3A, which is what Sterlington is in. Mangum
doubled the ranch. If you know, you know. If not, don't worry about it. What did Mangum do?
Mangum had almost 3 times as many points as St. Frederick's. Double, triple. Either way, it's more than St. Fred's 12 to Mangum 34. Whoa.
Big night for the Dragons.
Whoa. On home.
Don't let me interrupt you. You just keep going. You're hosting. I'm just here. I'm here. I'm gonna take a back seat. Taking a back seat.
Whoa, 28. They beat Jonesboro Hodge, I believe, which is ironic being
that was the game of the week for many media outlets, many respected media outlets. I'm sorry, I'll take a back seat.
Yeah, no, the K104 show is did have their game of the week there. And the ironic thing,
we're really proud of Coach TJ Murphy, offensive assistant, who was on the interview pod. We interviewed him. I'm sorry, Rat. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Week 4 we had, or not week 4, but podcast 4 we had offensive assistant TJ Murphy was on the show, and he is a coach at West Washita. The ironic and incredibly the most interesting thing about that game was the current coach at West Washita was Matt Middleton, but before that it was Joey Pender was the head coach at West Washita, and he used to be the head coach at Jonesboro Hodge.
The Pender Bowl, some were calling it, from what I heard. Maybe that can be a good rivalry down the road.
Yes, that could end up being a rivalry down the road. Also, Beekman 13. Beekman Charter had 13 points and Darwin Woods had 6. JD, any thoughts on that game?
Why would I have any thoughts on that game? Are you sure you can do this? Why would you put that game in the lineup? You had 4 solid games. You started with a good one, Bastrop, Evangeli. You talked about Sterlington, Mangum, and then the really good one. You talked about West Washita, and then you come in here with Beekman Charter and Darvon Woods Charter. Why?
Well, it clearly was a defensive struggle. 2 defensive powerhouses pitted.
I have something I want to talk about. The Norla looked really good last night. I'm on vacation, but I still did game of the week as Neville beat U-High and snapped their 27-game winning streak. East Ascension comes to Halton, and Halton destroys them as an underdog. Neville also an underdog. The Norla looking strong, and I think, Rat, that it is safe to say that the Sola is on a down year, and if you want good football in the state of Louisiana, you should come to the North, and I feel strongly about that, and last night was proof of that. So all of you follow me on Twitter. I have a lot of Norla followers. I have some Sola followers as well. You get on there and you talk about how you are better than us, and I just think that you're not. I was in the Sinlaw on vacation in Dry Prong, and I was playing poker, and when I was down there, I ran into a guy from Slidell, and he was talking about how good they were, and I told him, you couldn't even beat Mangum, and I think that's probably correct, because Mangum's 2-0. They've covered everybody's shocking people in the North, and we're going to have, like I said in the preseason podcast, Neville, OCS, and West Monroe will win state this year. We will have 3 Norla champions. Nobody sees it coming, but you heard it from me, and I'm sorry that I'm raising my voice. I'm supposed to be on vacation. I'm going to relax. I'm going to relax. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Part of being the host this week is curriculum coordination, co-facilitation is all on me this week. This week we have an out-of-town coach. He's going to be previewing some of the things that make the Norla special.
Did you schedule an interview?
I do have an interview.
As a guest host?
However, we do not have an advertisement this week. Unfortunately, there was no funding in the budget for any of the businesses to make advertising expense.
I take the blame on that one. I normally coordinate that, and I went on vacation and did not cover my bases.
However, I do agree that the Norla reigns supreme over the state. Houghton, East Ascension, is the only example that we need to cover. Neville crushed University High.
They look terrible.
Ruston should have won. They were the better team.
They're just young. They'll get there.
Franklin Parish.
I don't even know who they played last night, but they lost. They lost to Caldwell.
2 Norla schools.
Right, that's not a good example to throw in. I'm sorry, you go ahead. I'm just a guest.
Houghton is really all we have to cover on that Norla-Sola debate. Sinlaw, Elaw, Welaw, that's a different story, but Norla-Sola, Houghton, East Ascension. Norla reign is the stronger part of the state. And also, last night, we here at Norla went to the Game of the Week, which was presented by Remax.
I took a hiatus from my vacation and did cover Game of the Week for at least 3 quarters.
Neville was hosting one of the many state champions in this state.
And yes, I did like the restaurant. Oh, I'm sorry. You haven't talked about the restaurant.
All right.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
If there's going to be any kind of flow to the podcast, I have to read off the script. Okay, there's a game of the week.
You need to be able to improvise, though. It's a key part of this job.
There's no flow.
I think you're starting to realize how difficult my job is.
All right, Neville. They hosted a University High the week. We led up to Friday. Monday, everybody's worried about the game. Tuesday, everybody's excited about the game. Wednesday, people start predicting. Thursday is a prep rally. Friday's the game. Featured restaurant in Monroe. Obviously, we went to Two Dudes and Brew. It's a great pregame restaurant.
I had the smoked meatloaf, and it was great. I highly recommend the smoked meatloaf.
There is a part of Monroe that was a downtown district. It's clear that they are putting in an effort to modernize that area, and Two Dudes proved our point. That's a great restaurant.
It's a good feel. It feels good.
Anybody that's looking to head to a Neville game, OCS game, St. Frederick game, Mangum game, Richwood,
Mangum's not in Monroe,
Wassman, Cleveland Christian baseball. Two Dudes is an excellent option. I had a great time. It sets the stage for the matchup. JD, Mickey McCarty had this bunch ready. What do you think about how Neville looked on offense? But not only offense, how they look on defense?
You know what? I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of this Neville U-High game. The good, Neville. They were really good. They have two huge offensive tackles up front. They dominated the line both offensively and defensively. They ran the ball well. They defended incredibly. They shut out this talented U-High team. The kicking game was good. Every kickoff was a touchback. It was pure dominance. Every time they turned the ball over, they immediately got the ball back. They won the penalty war. They dominated in everything, almost everything. And the bad was U-High. They looked terrible. I don't know why people say they're a good team because, I don't even know how they beat John Ehret last week. They looked like a junior high squad. Maybe that's just because Neville was so good. I don't want to take away from those boys. They had a good band, but their football team was lackluster. And the ugly, Neville's quarterback can't throw. It's really impressive that Neville was so dominant, considering that their big-name quarterback doesn't look good at all. He throws a lot of picks. If Neville would have never thrown the ball, they might have won 42-0. But every time he threw, the drive stalled. There were turnovers. I think if Neville is going to complete JD's guarantee, he's going to have to get it together. I think he can. He's got good pedigree. His dad was Bubby Brister, played for the Steelers, and he transferred up from North Shore. So he came from Sola to Norla, and I think that if he gets it together, they will win state. But that was the only ugly of the game for Neville. It was so impressive that they dominated despite their quarterback. And we saw it last week. He threw 4 picks against Ruston, and they still won. He threw picks against U-High, and they still dominated. But I think that Neville really has got it going on. And I think they are going to go on. They play at Ouachita next week, and I think that's going to be a fun game. And I think they will I know they will beat a solid Ouachita team because Neville is good.
I think it's clear that he's still adjusting to the Norla, and that probably has a big part of his performance, his mentality, his attitude, his disposition, the way he views the game, getting used to school. He is going to come around and look at his pedigree. His papa is Bubba Brister. Anyhow,
he adjusts. He has to adjust just like you have to adjust to the host chair. And as you can see, it's not easy. And we shouldn't hate on the guy. I said he was bad, and he is, but I mean it in a nice way. I think he can use this as bulletin board material, and I hope that this motivates him to represent Neville High School and the Norla in a star-studded, stellar way.
Let's just hope that this, as we're building this podcast, we not only with Brister, we both get big and have a lot of success, but Brister can take this snippet of the podcast, one of those deals where you have you click a button and it says it, because you obviously can't clip out a newspaper heading, but this is motivation, much like we get motivated to make these podcasts, and we're I think we've pretty much made it, and obviously we're still we're happy where we are with our success.
We're running things. I think that we're smarter than we thought we were. That game last night was boring. That game last night was not fun. And we went there because the fans on Twitter overwhelmingly voted to choose Uhi Neville over Bastrop Evangel.
Yeah, guys, I think what JD's eventually going to get to is, if you don't know what the game of the week is or who you like on these bulletin board posts, vote. Don't vote. I mean, if you don't know, just
No, that's not what I'm getting to. They should vote. But they should do some research before they vote. Because if they would have known anything, they would have known this game was a blowout for Neville, even though they were the underdog. It was boring. We left early in the fourth quarter because it was just a terrible game. Bastrop Evangel, we followed it on Twitter. It was back and forth, back and forth. A talented Rams team defeated a talented Christian Eagles team from Evangel. And that would have been and should have been the game of the week. But you made us go to Neville, and we're probably not going back because of the voters. And I feel bad for Bastrop. I feel bad for Evangel because it really should have been there. We should have went to the Morehouse Parish, but we didn't. And I just hope that next week when we put schools on the poll, and I think, Rat, we may talk about them later. It's up to you. I'm not in charge. Please research the teams and figure out what would be best. Don't pick where you want to go. Pick where you should go.
Yeah, I think that community really missed out in the Morehouse community. Regardless, Neville did show to be the supreme bunch. And
the Tigers.
Yeah, right. All right. And now, I believe it's going to be time for our coach.
I mean, she's going to see how this goes because I did not approve this because I'm not hosting this week.
I think it's important to put perspective on really the way that our culture.
I'm interested to see how far out of town. I'm not sure if Rat shows somebody from like Alexandria or as far south as Lafayette or New Orleans.
No.
It's going to be neat having a Solon coach on the podcast.
There's a reason on the outline I put out of state coach and not out of town coach. So
wait, I'm looking at the outline.
It
says out of town.
Customers cannot see that.
It says.
So
let the record show that it says out of town coach. It says town very clearly.
Well, now is that time of the podcast where we really start to look into the differences between the Norla and some of the other states in our great United States. And now I'd like to welcome a coach from, he'll have to specify the area, but it's in South Dakota, Coach Colton McPhillips.
South Dakota?
Colton, are you there?
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going down south?
Hey, Coach McPhillips, is it?
Coach Colton McPhillips, West River High School, Minnehaha County.
Well, hi, this is JD from Norla Sports, guest on the podcast this week. Wow, we've got a coach from South Dakota, Rat. Why?
I think it's important to really examine some of the differences between the Soli and the Norla, but not only the Soli and the Norla, but the Norla and South Dakota. Coach McPhillips, what do you think? How's the weather? Is that a big burden and a hindrance to coaching football in South Dakota?
Yeah. So it snows half our games. But we take precautions. We wear thicker shoulder pads, thicker shin pads. We'll wear thicker chest pads, and basically they just wear snowsuits.
Wow, I can't imagine dealing with the snow in the football season. I mean, it's 105 degrees right now in the Norla.
Coach.
Yep, it definitely poses challenges, but that a lot of times we'll have less players on the field, and that way they have more space to do things that regular football players would do in regular amounts of space.
Coach, top right here. What part of the state are you at?
there's a river that goes. We're West River, West River of the western hemisphere of the state.
All right. The only actually interesting, very interesting part of my geography is the only place in South Dakota I know is Sioux Falls. Um, are are Indian mascots allowed up there?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question, Rat. Can I call you Rat?
Rat, yeah, rat works.
Good question, JD. So, what basically? Yes, we're actually the Seminoles.
Oh, okay. The West River
Like
Seminoles.
Florida State.
Western.
Well, that's interesting because we have the Ringgold Redskins, we have the West Washita Chiefs, we have the St. Fred Warriors. We have a lot of Native American mascots in the Norla. It's good to see that high schools across the country still allow representation of the heritage of our great nation. I think I might actually like this interview, Rat.
You can see the comparison and how it's relevant to really examine the Norla schools. Hey, guys, we're a team. And then here is the coach in South Dakota. So Colton McPhillips really adding a lot to this interview. Coach McPhillips, you still with us? Coach
Yep, we're still here.
There he is. Coach, just a little time on the will of the students. What is the motivation like being in South Dakota? I know South Dakota has the Jackrabbits as a college.
Because our students in the Norla are very motivated, and they really show up on Friday nights.
North Dakota has the Indy, SU. That's a big D2 school. What's it like, the will, the motivation, the real thing that motivates your student athletes?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, JD. And there's goodwill, but so most of these are farm kids and Indians, and they love football. They love lacrosse, and they like being out here. So
the heck is lacrosse? What is lacrosse?
What was that?
What is lacrosse?
Lacrosse. It's a lot like football. So the lacrosse team has more players than our football team, but we try hard. That's where we recruit most of our talent from. They just because of their strength and conditioning, because of the low impact sport. So basically, it's like football, but you have a baseball bat with a glove attached to the baseball bat. And
that sounds silly.
Had a big cutout there. We're going to move on to the next question. Coach, I know everyone in the Norla is wondering, hey guys, I make 35, 38, 41, 32, 44.
Omaha said hut.
Maybe even 39,000 a year teaching. Hey, I coach. I make 3,000 a year extra benefit surplus per diem. What do you make coaching in South Dakota as a comparison to the North?
That's a sensitive question. Are you okay with answering that question, Coach McPhillips?
Yeah. No, this is a completely appropriate conversation. So, from the comparison, I wish you didn't tell me that part of it, but say here you're a teacher, and because we teach, we'll teach math and Indian history and
Indian history. What do you mean by that?
I think we lost Colt.
Coach McPhillips, are you there? Brad, I think we lost him. Do you have another line you can call him on?
Yeah. Y'all, listeners, y'all bear with me. This could take just a short 5 to 10 minutes.
We're going to call him on a different line. And while Rat's dialing that number, I'm going to talk about something. Fill in, guest host, think of something. This. Okay, we're getting him a call.
Hey, can you hear me good?
Hey, Coach McPhillips, are you there?
Hey, we're live.
Oh, hey, sorry guys about that. We had some tornadoes come through the area, and but we're good to go. What were we talking about?
We wanted to know how much you got paid to coach a year.
Yep. Again, completely appropriate conversation. So if we coach and we teach, and basically if you teach and you coach 7-man football here, you make anywhere from $40,000 to $40,100. and then from there we'll go to 9-man football, and you'll make $41,000 to $41,200, depending on how good you are. And if you're East River, you make the extra $200.
Seems like a pretty simple structure.
I'm surprised that you coach fewer amounts of players and make more money than our coaches in the Norla do.
Yeah, I guess from my humble opinion, I think maybe that's because of the stronger college teams in the northern part of the United States in general.
That makes a lot of sense. Mr. McPhillips, I think this has been a very informative interview, and I think you've done a good job, and I think we are satisfied, and I think we've done our part. Me and JD have.
Yeah, I'm a little
excellent.
Yeah, I'm confused. Still confused as to how you got a coach from South Dakota, why you got a coach from South Dakota. But McPhillips, it's been fun. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, JD, and thank you, Top Rat, and really we just appreciate the exposure. And I'm going to show this podcast to the lacrosse team and try to get more players this year.
You don't have to do that. We don't really know anything about lacrosse.
All right, yeah, I'll be sending that payment later on this week. I appreciate it.
Payment.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Payment. What do you mean payment?
Well, there's obviously expenditures when you have guest coaches on the show.
Are you paying him to be on the podcast?
Well, we have a fund for interviews, research sections, and a guest coach would fall under those guidelines, and I think it enhances the show.
We do not have funds for guest coaches. What are you talking about?
Clearly, there is some discrepancies that we will have to get worked out.
I could never take another vacation for the rest of my life. This is what happens.
Well, you're not going to have to, because clearly Norla does not need an unstable host to get suspended over a
Stop saying that word, please. It was a vacation. It was my decision. Let's just, you know what? That interview was surprisingly okay. Let's just move on to whatever you have next as a guest host.
Look ahead. Next week, Ruston is hosting Airline. Last night, Friday, the 13th. Wow. Friday the 13th. Already this...
Friday the 13th background music. I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sorry, continue.
Friday the 13th, this early in the year, guys, September. Airline beat Union not only did they beat Union, they were a 10.5 point favorite. They covered. They are the stronger and the faster Viking.
The Vikings came in and raided the Farmers, I guess. Well, it was at home, but the Vikings lost to the Farmers last year, and they beat them this year. And like I said last week, Airline is back.
These farmers clearly were not far enough on land. The Vikings parked their boats and their ships, raided the community, killed the crops, they took the crops and the yield.
I think pillaged is the word you're looking for.
They destroyed the Union farmers by a score of
34-12, Rat. Please come prepared.
Potential game of the week next week. These are games that we might end up going to their community.
I cannot believe I forgot to think of game of the week next week while I was on vacation.
Some of these spots we're going to eat at restaurants. We're going to enhance the community. We're going to provide support to these communities. Oak Grove is at Sterlington. JD, thoughts?
That's a fun one. I actually think that is the game of the week for some other media outlets. Maybe K104. I'm not really sure. That's going to be a fun game. The Tigers and the Panthers.
Caldwell's at Winfield. Those two middle of the road. Scott Lee used to be the coach at Caldwell. Now Winfield is.
They're both 2-0, straight up and against the spread. That could be a fun one. I think voters should really look at that one before they just pick another one.
Winfield is an interesting team in the area. You know, Ruston recently had a lawsuit with Rutgers and over their use of the R. Not necessarily just the R. The way the R is shaped, the way the R is carved, and the way it is shaped similarly to the Rutgers University. And Winfield, I think they got to keep their toes on edge a little bit. Don't be too comfortable being that. The Winfield W looks an awful lot. Don't mark me on this. Don't quote me.
Get to the point, Rad.
Don't put me in any kind of paper. Don't even say I exist. But Winfield looks a lot like Wisconsin.
The Badgers.
That's true. Next week, these are potential game of the week, folks. So not only when you get a game of the week, you get some extra restaurant revenue. We're going to go eat at your restaurants in the neighborhood, but we're going to give you lifelines. Except if you're like Neville University, that was an awful game.
It was bad.
We gave one lifeline and we left. That was a terrible. Union is the disappointment of the year.
Without a doubt. I'll probably never watch another University Lab game. I believe you called them Union by mistake. But it's, first host jitters. U-High, I'm never watching them again.
If we happen to go to Delhi, we're going to have to eat at either Fox's or there's a barbecue place called...
Who is Delhi playing next week?
The beautiful thing about the Delhi game, neither team is going to have to go far. Hey, guys, you know how when you're younger, living in a neighborhood, you got a friend down the street? Delhi Charter is no different.
Oh, that's the game next week? Delhi Charter?
Delhi Charter. Don't even put it in your map. There's no turn. Get on Highway 17, get off Highway 17. That's your game.
That's another one you could vote for. So far you've said, I believe, let me see if I get this straight. Oak Grove Sterlington, Caldwell Winfield, Delhi Charter. Is it between those three, or are there more?
There's more.
Oh.
We got to keep the Shreveport community thinking that we might have a game there. Calvary's at Shreveport next week. What do you think about that game?
Calvary is at Shreveport. What? No, Bird. Why did you say Shreveport? Calvary's playing at Bird next week, so that's a potential game of the week.
Well, with the Shreveport community, there's awfully a lot of schools there, and can be difficult to keep up with who all's there. Monroe is very simple. There's some private schools, there's some public schools, and then there's schools that are on the hinges or on the fringes, like West Washita, like Caldwell. They're not really in Monroe, but they're separate. Shreveport is much more confusing. Another game. Anyhow, Calvary, beautiful squad. Former head coach Doug Peterson is now with the Eagles. He's they've done a great job.
Super Bowl winning coach.
Great job with that program. Another game, potential game, could be Carroll at Bastrop.
Say that again?
Carroll at Bastrop.
Carroll at Bastrop?
Carroll, that's right. The Rams this year, guys, are undefeated.
The Bastrop Rams are, but the Carroll Bulldogs, are they undefeated?
They're undefeated. They have taken down Booker T. Washington and Madison. Hey, that's two undefeated teams.
I'm not going to put that one on the poll. I like the first four, though. So I'll give you credit for that. Thank you for doing that, Ray.
I think that Carroll is underrepresented in our games of the week. And Carroll is just, they gets the slight. I mean,
well, they're 3.
No. Wiseman, they are kind of like Carroll, but Wiseman gets more credit.
No, Wiseman is much better than Carroll.
Adrian Burnett. Hey, guys. Adrian, whatever. You went from Bastrop. Oh, awfully beautiful school. Brad Bradshaw looking over us. And then, hey, I could have gone to Carroll, but I'm going to go to Bastrop. What about Carroll? What about Carroll? Why does Carroll always end up on the short end of the stick? I want to give Carroll a shot. I like this team. I like this program. I like this coach. I like this defensive coordinator. I like this offensive coordinator. Carroll Bulldogs, back at you. 2019 style. I want to see this team in the Superdome playing at Bastrop next week. What do you think, JD?
I think that I'm going to call you out on this. I think you're making things up. You said that you love the Carroll coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Rat, who is the Carroll defensive coordinator? And there you have it, folks. Carroll and Bastrop will not be game of the week. We could have covered Bastrop last week, but you didn't vote for him, so it's your fault. It's Top Rat's fault for putting it on the poll in the first place. It's everybody's fault but mine.
I think Carroll has a big hill.
Stop talking about Carroll.
To climb.
Yes, they have a big hill to climb. They're not going to climb it.
Administration of Norla, they continually, week after week after after week after week after week after week continues to not pick Carroll.
Well, when they're good, we'll pick them. Do you have a segment or anything to do this week?
No, I think we've dragged on long enough. This has probably been our because you're a guest and because our guest was really boring.
You know what?
Probably been
I'm going to eat this Sonic Ice.
This is the
while you're
worst
trying to go.
podcast we've had. Just awful.
A little ASMR for you folks. Hey, I like that rap. Trying to talk about Carroll? I'll shake ice in your mic. What do you think about that?
Tune in next week as Oak Grove could be Game of the Week at Sterlington, but could be Caldwell at Winfield, Delhi. What a matchup. That town is going to be shut down Friday night at 7 o'clock. Tune in next week.
I will be the host. I promise.